month into the Iran war, and, well, the tone from Washington is shifting again. President Donald Trump is now signaling a possible exit. He's saying that the United States could leave Iran in 2 to 3 weeks, claiming its core objective, that is crippling Iran's nuclear capability, has already been achieved. Listen in.
I would say that within 2 weeks, maybe 3. We're hitting them very hard. Last night we knocked out tremendous amounts of missile-making facilities. We, as you probably read or wrote, we knocked out. Excuse me.
Pardon me for interrupting. The U.S. will be gone or done with the war?
I think with 2 or 3 weeks.
Not 3 weeks. If it is
we'll leave because there's no reason for us to do this. Look, problem with the Strait, a guy can take a mine, drop it in the water, and say, "Oh, it's unsafe." It's not like you're taking out an army or you're taking out a country or they can drop it. Or you can take a machine gun from the shore and shoot a few bullets at a ship, or maybe an over-the-shoulder missile, small missiles. That's not for us. That'll be for France. That'll be for whoever's using the Strait.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, reiterated that the UK will not be drawn into the conflict as it is not their war. Listen in.
And freedom of navigation in the Middle East is in the British national interest. Let me turn now to the impact at home, because I know that this is causing huge concern. People turn on their television, they look at their screens, they see explosions, infrastructure blown up, aggressive rhetoric. They worry that the UK will be dragged into this. We won't. But I also know that people have a deep sense that this will affect their family and their household. They can see it at the petrol pumps. So, as I set out a few weeks ago, we have a 5-point plan for the immediate crisis. We're cutting energy bills by over £100 per household today. We've extended the cut in fuel duty until September. Let me turn now to the impact at home, because I know that this is causing huge concern. People turn on their television, they look at their screens.
The UK Prime Minister mirroring concerns that are possibly true for the entire world. Professor Natasha Lindstaedt, thank you very much for joining us this evening. Good evening to you. Donald Trump has now put out a Truth Social post saying that Iran has asked the US for a ceasefire. He's also added, and let me quote him here, "We will consider when Hormuz Strait is open, free and clear. Until then, we are blasting Iran into oblivion, or as they say, back to the Stone Ages." I want to ask you how you interpret this statement from Donald Trump, which appears to differ significantly from his earlier position, that he was willing to engage with the Iranians.
So Trump has been going back and forth on this. This has actually been the one constant, is that he hasn't taken one view in the beginning. We saw him saying things that the war was already won. Then he started to say that they were negotiating with the Iranians, and the Iranians said that they weren't. There was a point where he said he was going to be involved in the decision-making of who should be the next Ayatollah. That, of course, didn't happen. There have been times he said the war is almost over. I mean, the most recent headline was that it is going to be over within a few weeks, and that negotiations are going well. But then he has since turned and said that there's going to be nonstop attacks on Iran. Also, recent reports were that the U.S. was able to fly B-52 bombers over Iran's skies, and that was a sign that their at least defense systems have been down. But Iran still has capabilities to use its own ballistic missiles, to launch its ballistic missiles and drones. So this has definitely been a war of miscommunication. There's a lack of understanding, at least on the U.S. side, as to what the goals are of the war, because the goalposts keep shifting from one moment to the next. And a lot of this has to do with the fact that the war wasn't very well planned out, at least from the American side. There was, I guess, this idea that this war would be able to be won quickly from the American side, or at least from Trump's perspective, or whatever he had been told, or intelligence he had gotten from the Israelis or U.S. owned intelligence. And so as a result, you're seeing him speak off the cuff to the press, and that's why it may seem so confusing.
Tomorrow morning, India time 6:30 is when President Trump has announced a big press conference. I mean, could you just gaze into the crystal ball and tell us whether you think he will be announcing an exit from the war, or do you think that is something that is highly unlikely?
I think it's unlikely, though. He keeps saying that the U.S. is going to be out of there within a few weeks, and that the U.S. has won the war. I mean, that's what many of the people within his administration also have been trying to explain, that the war has already been won, whether it be Marco Rubio or his Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth. They'll probably try to explain what they've achieved, what they've accomplished. They've been announcing without evidence that they have dismantled Iran's nuclear program. That supposedly was one of the major goals of the conflict, was to do that, but we don't really have evidence of that. The Navy, Iran's Navy has been severely weakened, so that is at least one accomplishment, at least from the US's perspective. But I can't see what major announcement he is going to make that is really any different than these other announcements that he's been making that seem to contradict what action is taking place on the ground to some extent.
And if it's anything to do with any peace talks with Iran, Iran has repeatedly ruled out any talks with the United States. Iran has also reportedly threatened to target 18 major tech companies operating in the region, that is the Middle East, including Apple, including Microsoft, Meta, etc., in retaliation for the US-Israel's targeted killings. I want to ask you, Professor Natasha, how you think such a move will reshape the conflict, especially given that the US has been heavily deploying AI and advanced technology in its operations against Iran.
Right. I mean, so that's another move Iran is making to disrupt, and I'm not sure exactly how much impact that's going to have. What we've seen is that they've had a major impact with what they've been doing with the Strait of Hormuz. So this has, of course, where 20% of the oil passes through. It's a major artery, and it's been incredibly important and consists one of the most significant global energy crises that we've seen in a long time. So we've seen that, at least on the Iranian side, they have been able to create huge economic disruption.
Correct.
If you look at what's going on in the US, the price of gas has risen to over $1 per gallon. So there's some places where gas is somewhere around to $5 a gallon. So this is a 27% increase for Americans. So we see that the costs of the war have already been significant economically, at least from the U.S. It's shown that the Iranians have shown that they've been able to incur some economic pain. To what extent this is going to be impacted by these new attacks on technology, that remains to be seen. But Iran has proven really adept at certain aspects of cyber warfare and other types of hybrid warfare strategies.
Then can I ask you what your expectations are from China's newly proposed 5-point peace plan? Do you think China can actually push Iran to the negotiating table?
So thus far, China has not proven to be the most loyal ally to Iran. They have tried to stay out of this conflict as much as they can. They want to see an end to the conflict because China's economy is completely dependent on global trade, being able to, that countries are able to trade without these types of disruptions. So China has a vested interest in trying to end the conflict as soon as possible, but they haven't offered Iran a lot. And to some extent, Russia has tried to be an ally to Iran, offering them some intelligence. But in neither case have they been a major lifeline for Iran. At the moment, Iran's government is facing an existential threat. I mean, you have the Revolutionary Guards that are they're not going to give in. They're not going to accept some kind of plan that doesn't see them fully in power. So they have a lot on the table here. They have a lot at stake. So I think it's going to be difficult for Iran to agree to any kind of peace plan brokered by China without concessions that would be quite significant for the US and Israel to agree with.
What about Pakistan? Because there are some mediation efforts by Pakistan as well. Do you think they'll work, or is it simply going to be a waste of time?
So I don't think it is a waste of time. Pakistan's been involved in mediation efforts and started conferring with Turkey, Saudi Arabia, and Egypt as part of some sort of quartet that wants to improve stability in the region and enhance their strategic goals and engage in greater levels of mutual defense. They also see it in their interest to end this conflict. Saudi Arabia is maybe the only outlier that, according to the New York Times, may want to only end this conflict if Iran is, completely annihilated and weakened, and not some sort of partial victory for the U.S. So the Pakistani government is trying to maintain open communication. This is at least initial steps to having some kind of off-ramp or end to the conflict, but I don't see them being able to get this sorted out anytime soon.
Natasha, we'll leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much for joining us. But before I let you go, a quick last question. How long do you think this war will then last?
Trump saying weeks. The Gulf states have said they can withstand this going on for months. I can't imagine it is going to still be going on by somewhere around November when the U.S. midterms are taking place. I think Trump is going to find some type of off-ramp before summer and claim some sort of victory with the Iranian regime still intact.
Professor Natasha, it was great to have you here on the show. Thank you very much for joining us on Times Now. Good to get your perspective.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. On that note, ladies and gentlemen, a quick break. Thank you very much for watching. Good night. Pranesh is joining you at the top of it. Do stay with us.